It doesn't start with explosions. It starts with absence. Quiet, administrative, almost invisible. A Monday morning where phones still glow, coffee still pours, and traffic still crawls. But somewhere beneath it all, the machinery that feeds a nation stops moving. There's an old warning passed around by people who plan for disasters. Civilization is only 9 meals away from anarchy. Not 9 days, 9 meals. Because the human body can tolerate anxiety, rumors, even inconvenience. But hunger rewrites behavior with brutal speed. Modern food isn't stored the way people imagine. Supermarkets don't hide weeks of inventory in back rooms. They're storefronts for a moving river. Just-in-time logistics. Food arrives, gets stacked, gets bought, and the next wave replaces it. Most stores carry only a few days of stock. The rest exists as motion. Pallets assigned to routes, trucks scheduled by software, fuel assumed to be there, ports and rail lines assumed to keep breathing. Then the river dries up. Maybe it's a cyber attack that corrupts routing systems. Maybe fuel disappears, or a blockade tightens, or a chain of small failures becomes a single synchronized shutdown. The cause becomes a debate because debate is comforting. People can argue with a cause. But the effect is beyond ideology. No deliveries. At first, it feels like a delay, an inconvenience, a temporary glitch, like a late package, a canceled flight, a brief outage that someone else will fix. But fear doesn't wait for confirmation. Fear only needs a rumor, a shaky video of empty shelves, a message claiming a major chain isn't getting shipments, a cashier mentioning a missing truck. One word, shortage, lands in the public mind like a match in dry grass. By noon, parking lots fill with a mood that isn't shopping. It's evacuation. Carts rattle. People move quickly, eyes trained on the same targets, because survival has predictable ingredients. Rice, pasta, beans, canned meat, flour, baby formula, water, anything that lasts. The first wave looks almost normal, until you notice the volume. Not one bag, 5, not a few cans, entire cases. Then the second wave arrives, and it's different. People who don't cook buy flour. People who never eat canned fish buy it anyway. It's not about taste, it's about control, an attempt to outrun the future. In 6 hours, the shelves go from abundance to metal, cardboard scraps on tile, torn packaging, empty spaces that feel louder than any alarm. The store doesn't look busy anymore. It looks scavenged. Employees check systems and refresh screens that don't change. They know the schedules. They know what late looks like. And when they realize this isn't late, this is gone, they stop being workers and become human beings with families and empty kitchens. Some leave early. Some lock doors. Not out of cruelty, but out of arithmetic. Glass can only pretend to be a barrier for so long. Tuesday stretches. News cycles spin explanations and assurances that land like paper against stone. People drive across towns chasing rumors of one store that still has something. Each rumor creates traffic, and that traffic becomes proof. Fear feeds itself. The most fragile places break first. Dense cities where millions live on daily convenience. Takeout, delivery, grabbing dinner on the way home. In those neighborhoods, a pantry is not a habit, it's a luxury. When the flow stops, they don't gradually tighten. They hit a wall. By the third day, the crisis becomes biological. Most families have eaten the easy food. The refrigerator is a cold box of condiments and absence. Now the pantry becomes the battlefield. Cans counted, portions measured, meals turned into calculations. This is where the 9 meals matter. Not as a slogan, but as a countdown the body understands. Hunger arrives quietly. A dull ache that sharpens smells, sharpens sounds, sharpens suspicion. It turns patience into irritability, irritability into anger, anger into exhaustion. The social contract starts to fray at the edges. Neighbors stop smiling. Curtains stay closed. Doors get checked twice. The familiar becomes a question mark. Authorities respond the way they always do. Statements first, then plans, then force. Food distribution sites are announced. Stadiums, school lots, open spaces meant to impose order on desperation. The idea is simple. The reality is logistics, and logistics is exactly what is broken. Lines stretch for blocks, then miles. People stand in heat and cold, burning calories while trying to obtain calories. The crowd doesn't sound violent at first. It sounds restless. Low murmurs, the constant movement of bodies, the occasional surge when someone thinks supplies are running out. And eventually, supplies do run out. When a distribution point fails, the crowd changes shape. It compresses, surges, pushes. Security can be trained, armed, disciplined, but it is still human. Hunger doesn't respond to commands. Riots don't begin over televisions anymore. They begin over sacks of rice. Money loses its spell. You can't eat a banknote. You can't boil a gold watch into soup. Value collapses into usefulness. The currency becomes calories. A can of tuna becomes more powerful than a paycheck. A black market rises fast. Quiet trades, whispered deals, obscene prices. People sell what they swore they wouldn't. Pride becomes negotiable. By week 2, the country isn't loud, it's tired. Streets go eerily quiet because movement costs energy. People conserve calories the way they used to conserve money. Suburban lawns get torn up into desperate gardens. Parks lose their wildlife. Lakes get fished until they feel empty. The natural world stops being scenery and becomes inventory. And in rural areas, food becomes territory. Farmers hear the stories and watch strangers drive past fields too slowly. They guard crops not out of hatred, but out of numbers. A harvest becomes a boundary between living and not living. Eventually, some form of stability returns. Routes get patched. Fuel reappears. Trucks begin to roll again, but they don't roll into innocence. When shelves are restocked, people touch items as if they might vanish. They buy more than they need even when they promise themselves they won't, because memory is a second hunger, one that never fully leaves. The disturbing lesson isn't that society can collapse. It's how little it takes to start the fall. 9 meals. That's the distance between the world you know and a world that no longer pretends to be polite.